Okay, so I think from where I was in my mind, we have gone through the birth process, the very, very early childhood, up to my being with my mother, an adoptive father, and on the farm. So I was thinking, how does that fit into the family constellations and into the theme that we want to carry across as a learning? So I think to go back to the learning is really that my adoptive father was a farmer, but he no longer was welcome on his family farm, and therefore he needed to find a different way or a different farm to earn his living, which changed my mother's life from being amongst people, although it was a small little town or village. She's now completely on her own on the farm, very isolated. And that was a new experience for her. We never bonded. So my mom and I never bonded. And I think that is the tragedy of our relationship. Subconsciously, and I can only say that it was subconsciously because I don't remember this consciously, but subconsciously there was an anger towards her for choosing my birth father's way forward, for agreeing with him on his way forward. And I felt neglected by that agreement.
It's almost there was a collusion.
It was more important for her to keep his family safe. And while I understand it consciously, the little girl did not understand that. The little girl felt distanced. The little girl felt rejected. And there was also the rejection of, she didn't really want me. So there is that bonding never took place, because remember I spoke about the three mothers, and she never was one of them. There was not that, she was not that mothering type. So how that reflects back in systemic work is, when you have not had mothering, when you have not had that warmth of a mother, how can you give that to your children? So that distance that is between my mother and me is also reflected between me and my children. And it's taken many, many years for that to heal. And I believe that the healing has taken place through the work that we are doing, to the point where today there is an internal closeness between me and my children. The internal closeness was never there between me and my mother. That does not mean that there was not great love between us. It does not mean that we didn't care for one another. In fact, there was great love. But she could not show it from her side. She could not feel it. And I did not feel it from her side. So when we look at that child, that inner child, that does not understand mothering, she learns to be independent. She needs to be her own nurturer, and she needs to fend for herself in life. There was also a feeling of not feeling safe with her. So this child is really stepping into life, into her own world. And I think that is where the farm was really amazing for this little girl, because she learned how to be around nature, be nurtured by nature rather than a human being. My nurturing came more from the animals that I could curl up with and lie next to and feel their warmth than from my mother. So I'm not speaking ill of my mother, but one needs to understand that she could not give what she would have wanted to give. It changed right before her death, the last time I went to visit my mother. And when I actually said to her, today you have to tell me the truth. I need the name of my birth father. Because I had gone and tried to find a name. None of her siblings knew. None of her best friends knew. Nobody had a name that they could give me. They could give me a host of names that my mother was associated with, but nobody had the right name. On that list of names they gave me, the right name was not on there.
Wow. So the secret was secretly and very carefully set up and very carefully maintained throughout
Yes.
the years.
Yes.
Because this was you are now at an advanced age.
Yes.
When this happened.
When this happened. And then she gave me the name and all the reasoning behind it. So
Right.
when I today say what the agreement was between her and my birth father, he verified the same story. So it's not a story that's a one-sided story. It's a story that came from both sides. But when she gave me that name and that story was the first time I felt bonded with her.
Right.
That release of the truth allowed me to feel her closeness. The sad part is that was the last time I saw her alive.
Yeah, yeah. Which I think we need to talk a little bit more about.